Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia, and we are going to go over the books that I read in September, close out September. So I read a total, Storygraph is telling me I read 23. I think I read 25. So I'm trying to figure out what two aren't on here, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna go over them. Whatever's here, we're gonna go over. So grab yourself a cup of tea and get cozy, because this is gonna take a little while. All right, let's get to it. My cup of tea today is Tulsi Sweet Rose. And I like Tulsi teas in general. Excuse Louie while he gets a drink. And Puppy's sitting again today. So, no, you go lay down. Don't you love when your dogs get a drink and then they want to come over and like just lay their sloppy head on your lap? I love him, but I don't love him that much. I don't want to be wet for the rest of the evening. The first one that I will tell you about, I actually read 3 of them in the series. This was series September, and so I have a few that count for it. The ones that I read for the Homefront Sleuth mysteries, I read book 3, book 4, and book 5, which were the Spitfire Murders, Judas Monk Murders, and the Murders at Clarion Castle. So I have read those ones. These are by Elliott and Charles Veley. If you remember my wrap-up from August, there were a couple of these in there as well. I would not call these cozy, even though it does say Homefront Sleuth Cozy Mysteries. I wouldn't call these cozy. There is an animal companion of sorts in the storyline, but for the most part, I would call these wartime crime novels, and they're being solved by a group of people in a home front town, a little village, and the main person though that kind of is in charge of all of this is Evie, and she was a spy originally. And then for Britain, she was a spy. And then there are also 2 police officers. One is from this town, and the other one is an ex-Scotland Yard agent. And then we have a teacher, and there are a couple of others. Anyway, it's like a little village that is solving these kind of war crimes that are happening. There is a murder involved in every single one, but oftentimes it has happened in the past, and they are tracking it down still. And so anyway, I like them a lot. I really like them because there aren't any like angsty love stories really in them, and at least not yet in the 5 books that I have read, and also because they just feel very true to the time period, and I'm really enjoying like the characters and their interactions and all of that. So I really have enjoyed them, and I really like the mysteries in them too. I think that they are very, very well done. Okay, The next one that I read was The Art Thief. This is by Michael Finkle. It was odd. It was just really, what an odd couple that this was about. So it says art thief, but it was actually about a man and a woman who did most of this together. And there was not one particular kind of art that they stole. And their reasons for doing it, or his reasoning for doing it, was not the same as most art thieves are. But nonetheless, art thieves. And yeah. By the end of it, I was just ready for it to be over. I think it was it overstayed its welcome. And I think that I was just ready for it to be done and for us to move on. And I did enjoy it, but I just was ready to be finished with it. So in that way, I don't think it was super successful, but I did like the fact that Michael Finkle definitely stayed within the facts, that he didn't try to present something that he was just kind of ruminating on, but it wasn't necessarily what really happened. So yeah, The Art Thief. And that one was for Framed. Framed is an event that takes place in September on BookTube, and it has for the last couple of years. I think this is only the second year that they've done it. So, and it's just to read a book about art or with art in the storyline. Then I read The Golden Ass, or what's it also? The Transformations of Lucius. And this is by Apuleius. And my translation was translated by Robert Graves. This is a work of ancient literature. And it was actually so funny. I've got my computer because I didn't bring any of the books with me to puppy sit. It was a little crass at times, but I think I've kind of come to expect that from Greek and Roman myths and literature. It was not shocking that it was a little crass, but it was very, very funny. And there were the way that Lucius is changed, and the things that he goes through and that he feels sorry for himself about, and all of that, I found hysterical. It's fast-paced. It is kind of a fantasy-esque kind of thing, because it's basically a shape-shifting sort of novel. And he retains all of his memories of being human in the donkey form that he becomes. And he, falls in love and wants to be with all of this. And he constantly thinks that the gods have had their fun with him, and he's, it's all done now, and he can go back to being human, and something else happens. And so I just really enjoyed it. I read The Lioness Rampant. This also would have been for series September. It's number 4 in the Song of the Lioness. We had an entire live show on it on Christy Lewis, Dostoevsky in Space channel. And so if you want to hear my thoughts about it, I'll send you over there to listen to our discussion. I enjoyed this one more than book 2 or 3. I still did not really enjoy the series overall as a whole. It just really was not my favorite. Anyway, I'll let you go over there and listen to our thoughts. Also for series September, and this is The Leper of St. Giles, and this is by Ellis Peters, which is one of the Brother Cadfael books, and I have been reading these off and on for years, and I enjoy them when I pick them up. I just don't pick them up very often. And so a little bit of history mixed in with a little bit of like herb knowledge and the way to heal and the way to poison and all of these other kinds of things. And Brother Cadfael, oh, there's a fly in here. Brother Cadfael is a monk, but he is a monk that solves crimes. Really enjoyed it. Then, as a buddy read, kind of surprisingly, with Shelley Swearingen, we chose to read a May Sarton journal together, and it's called The House by the Sea. I loved it. I really, really, really enjoy quiet, simple, everyday, mundanity type books. And I mean, she even like recorded what things cost when she went to the grocery store, you know, what the weather looked like, just all of these different things that are just so normal, and yet the way that she wrote about them for me was elevated to the point where I felt like I got to know her and got to know what life would have been like if I was living with her and her dog and cat. What a beautiful friend May Sarton was. I think that was one of her great strengths in later life, was just how she treasured relationship. And so I really enjoyed that part. She was an introvert, and so it was really easy for me to relate to her. And she lived, this house by the sea was a house on the coast of Maine, which is also something that I dearly, dearly love. And so there were a lot of things that just really recommended it to me. So I loved this time with Shelley and reading this book, and I think it's wonderful. If you like quiet, very slow, very simple kind of books, and I have to say, this is not a story. This is very much a journal. And so, and anyway, if you like that kind of thing, this is a really good one. Second book in the Raveling, also series September, and this one I did not enjoy as much. I think it suffered a little bit from the book 2 syndrome, second book syndrome in the series, but for me, some of the things that I really, really loved about our main character in the first book, I had to wait until the end of book 2 to see those things that I loved about him come into play again. And so I'm ready to read book 3, but I probably won't get to it until November because October is full. It is full. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I did like this well enough to keep going in the series. All right. Then, as a buddy read, I read Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, and this is a Bradbury that I have read before, but it was so much fun to read with Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and her big sister, Sandy. And we just had the best discussions. It had us thinking, it had us, questioning things and pondering. And I love the fact that when we buddy read, and this goes for like with Shelley as well, there's always something that stands out to one person that doesn't really stand out to another one. And so as you start to relay your thoughts, you kind of go, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Or, wait, when did that happen? I don't even remember that happening. So it was just fun. And it was a book that I wish was not a reread, because it would probably go in my top books of the year if it was a first time read. But I try not to put rereads in there, but it may end up as an honorable mention at the end of the year, because wow, was it ever a ride. I loved the way that Bradbury communicated things. He wrote this book like 75 years ago, and there was so much that was relevant to today, to what is happening in our societies today. And some of the things that he communicated so succinctly that I just never expected to be reading about in a book from 75 years ago. I was just floored. It was really, really fascinating. Just fabulous. Loved it. For Shakespeare, I read Othello by William Shakespeare. And this was a reread of Othello, but I hadn't read it in a long time. And I have been to see a production of Othello, but it was one of the very first, it wasn't the very first, but it was one of the very first Shakespeare plays I ever saw. And I remember that it made a big impact on my kind of psyche. But to be honest, it's very much a Romeo and Juliet story. We have our main character who is in love with someone from a family that is well-to-do, but he is not of the right skin color, he is not of the right country, and they, have to overcome some things. And then somebody like wheedles their way in to make someone think that they are, believing things about the other one that maybe they shouldn't be. And it just, there's war, there's other things in it besides that. But it reminded me a lot of Romeo and Juliet and the way that it plays out. It doesn't feel like a love story the farther into the play that you go. It feels more like an obsession and jealous rivalry, and what believing wrong, things or the wrong people can do to you. can do to your mind, to your heart. So anyway, yes, I did enjoy it, just not my favorite. I would much rather read the comedies. Then I read To Sir with Love. This is by ER Braithwaite, and it's a true story, and there is a very famous film based on it. I actually went and picked it up because my husband was walking around singing the song. To Sir with Love. Whoever read the book, and he said, "There's a book?" So I decided that I wanted to read it again. It had been a long, long time. And the story in the movie is pretty accurate to the book, but there are a lot of things that happen in the book that have a slightly different tone when they happen in the movie. And maybe they may have like taken some poetic license with making certain scenes with Sir in them that in the book he wasn't in those scenes. So everything in the movie happens in the book, but maybe it just doesn't happen in quite the same way, and it doesn't necessarily happen with the same tone. And so I actually like the movie better, but that is because it feels more uplifting than the book does. And so anyway, I still loved it, still thought it was great. Okay, and then I read Wild Magic. This is our next live show coming up next weekend. And it is the first book in the Immortals quartet. And this quartet has some of the characters from the first quartet, but they are not, I'm sorry, Tamora Pierce. But they are not the main characters in this quartet, and a completely different kind of magic, and not at all some of the things I strongly objected to happen in the first quartet that do not happen in this second quartet, at least not so far. Find out more at our live show next Saturday on Christie's channel. Some Keats poetry. I have a little, just a little, collection of his poems, and I don't think it's all of them, it's just a selected collection. And so I absolutely loved it. I took a poem an evening and read it and thought about it and made notes on it. I don't remember like concentrating just on Keats before, and I really, really enjoyed it a lot. Like I'm gonna look for an even nicer copy of Keats poetry because mine is just this little, like almost like a textbook one. Two more that could count for series September. I read The Last Moriarty and The Wilhelm Conspiracy. And these are also by Charles Veley, not with Anna Elliott, just him. And they are a sort of spin-off of Sherlock Holmes. So what has happened at the end of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writing Sherlock Holmes is he's supposed to have died. And Charles Veley brings him back, and then they reimagined what it would be if Sherlock survived, and maybe, just maybe, has more family out there than what he knows about. Read Rogue Secreto, and this is by Victoria McCombs, and it is a fantasy. It is a standalone, and it's about a ruling family in a kind of a almost like a Roman setting. 3 daughters. He plans to leave the rulership, the kingship, to one of those daughters. And before he names the daughter that he's going to leave the kingdom to, the middle daughter ends up kind of coming into contact with someone who passes their power and their ability to know secrets, and then she is able to dress up and disguise her voice so that no one knows who she is. All this is before her father names her as his successor, and he doesn't know that she's the Rogue Secreto. Anyway, lots of little things happen. I thought that it was fine. I didn't love it. And part of that was just the writing style. I think I didn't particularly love Rogue Secreto herself as the one that's telling the story. I just wish it would have been more of an omniscient narrator, and that we would have kind of pulled back a little bit and been able to see different characters and to see their motivations and to see their hearts, because we had an omniscient narrator rather than the Rogue Secreto telling us. I think her name was Maribel or something like that, that was telling us the story. So I thought it was good. It was just not top tier or anything. Then with Kelly from Kelly Reads a Lot, I read All of Grace by Charles Spurgeon. This is actually marketed by him, by Charles Spurgeon, as a way to belief and faith for those who are searching but have not come to a knowledge of God yet, to come to a belief in God yet. But as believers, both Kelly and I felt like we learned and grew so much in this book. And typical of Spurgeon, you don't walk away ever feeling ambivalent. I don't think that there's a gray area for him. This helped me to see unbelievers and those that are searching for what it means to be a believer, to have faith, and how our faith is connected to grace, way that I should understand the understanding of them. It doesn't make any sense, probably. I'm not doing a very good job. He does a much better job. Go read him. All of Grace was wonderful. 2 more of the books that could count for Series September. The first book in the Evie Parker mystery series is called House Party Murder Rap, and the second book is called Murder at the Tea Party. And so both of these could count for Shorty September as well. So could Keats, so could All of Grace, so could To Sir with Love, So could Othello. So could Fahrenheit 451. I think that's it. The Leper of St. Giles is 208, so it could basically count. So yeah, anyway, those are all shorties. They all could count for Shorty September. The Evie Parker mysteries are set in the 1920s. She is from America and is an heiress and has married somebody in England who is a count or a viscount. I don't know. I can't remember for sure. But anyway, she has a title as a result of being wed to him, and he is killed in the war. She went back to America for a couple of years, and now she is back, and she is kind of reclaiming her right as the wife of, or the widow of, the Viscount. And so she is considered a countess, and yet she is American, and so there's some, animosity between the people and herself being in England, and yet she also has some very, very good friends and that gather around her and that know her well. And that includes her husband's mother and his grandmother. And it's just a really lovely community that she has. And she is, curious and high energy and young still, even though she's a widow. And she solves murders that happen. Those are by Sonia Perrin. I didn't say that. Sorry about that. Mrs. Moreau's Warbler, How Birds Got Their Name by Stephen Moss. This is a nonfiction, and it literally talks you through English and how the influences on the English language may explain how, birds were first called this, and then the reasons why birds' names were changed, and the scientific names behind them, and how they help us know from one culture to another culture that we're talking about the same bird. Just different things like that. I thought it was fine. I didn't think that it was anything super special. I did like the talk about the when he first started, and he was talking about the influences on the English language and how in this language this word means this, and it sounds very much like the English word that we use for this bird still. And so we can trace it back, to that. So I enjoyed that part of it. I didn't enjoy the further we got that was talking about the scientists and the fact that when they named this bird, they didn't know that there were others in that family. And so of course we needed to change it. And I didn't care about all of that. I was hoping when I went into it that I was going to find out many of the English bird names that are unique to parts of Great Britain, or parts of Ireland, or parts of, other parts of Europe, that I would find out that a goldfinch is called this cute little nickname in in Ireland, and I just really wanted more of that. And so I think that it was probably a little disappointing because that's not what it was, but that was my own expectation. That probably brought it down a little bit. But I did think that it was well researched, it was well told, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted. Lastly, another reread, and I reread Peter S. Beagle's The Last Unicorn, and I loved it. I loved it. I love the beauty of the way the unicorn looks at the world and how she teaches others to look at the world. And, you know, I mean, she has her little indignant, how could they think this, you know, kind of things. But for the most part, she just is in awe of people that have such a harsh view of life, or that choose to be violent or evil, and just how her heart wants so much to reconnect with some of her kind, to know for sure. She feels she's not the only one, but she wants to know for sure. And that heart of just wanting to have others like herself to love is what takes her on an adventure. And the way that others join her, and this ragtag little bunch overcome this great evil, and I just loved it. I loved it. It is a classic for a reason. Okay, that is everything. I would love to know if you have read any of these, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, what you think. What did you guys participate in? Did you get to participate in Series September, in Shorty September, in Shakespeare? And I hope to see you at our live discussion of Wild Magic on the 11th, I think, is the day that we decided. So I hope to see you there and discussing Wild Magic with us. And then also let me know if you've read the Raveling series and you've read all 3 of the books, if I should go on to number 3. I think I should. There's not this like I have to know. There's none of that going on. So there you have it. Thanks for hanging in there with me. This was a long one, per usual at the end of the month. So I will see you again in another video very soon. Thanks everyone. Bye.